And we are back with day 17 of Survivor 46 and 46. Dr. Bob just won Survivor Gabon against Susie and Sugar. I know that Gabon has a lot of fans. I don't know if they are ironic fans, like the types of fans that like Coach, where it's like, okay, I feel like this is a joke, or if they actually like Gabon. So I'm glad today. For the first time, we have Austin, and for the third or fourth time, we have McKenna back, both from DCP production. I don't even know where to start. I guess starting from, I want to ask you guys this question, if you actually know the answer to this, because I actually don't know. When people say recruit, what exactly does that mean? Because I felt like this was a recruited season, and then during the I actually watched the recap episode, and all of them had audition videos. So what exactly is a recruit?
I mean, they might have recruited them, but had them make a tape. Like at this point, they might be saying like, "Hey, we want you to play. You're in, but just like do this thing." I don't know.
Austin?
I honestly don't. That's one thing I've also never really understood is like what it means when someone is quote unquote recruited versus like normally applying to the show.
Because there are, especially pre-merge, there are so many people that I'm just like, there's no way you exist in real life, let alone exist in real life and applied for this show and actually got on. Jillian's a prime example. It's just, I didn't get it. And we start from the very beginning with them picking tribes, and there's one person that very clearly knows how to pick a tribe, one survivor, and there's one person that very clearly doesn't.
We need a mom over here.
Yeah, I'm just like, what is happening? And you feel the pre-merge. I feel so bad for Maddie more than anyone else because he just keeps on ending up on these tribes that they can't do anything. You've got the once upon a time Olympic gold medalist, and outside of that, you've got like
G Sizzle.
Stop it. When I totally forgot he went by his first name there, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm G Sizzle." I'm like, that's embarrassing.
G stands for Golden Child.
Golden Child, yeah. So honestly, I had forgotten that part too, until I think Randy makes a reference to it. Austin, we're gonna start with you. Do you feel like most of the fans that like this season like it ironically, or do you feel like they see a lot of merit to what happens in the season?
I think it's a little bit of both, honestly. For me specifically, like I enjoy the season. It's not like one of my like top favorites, but part of the reason why I like it, it's probably like 25% nostalgia because it was the very first season that I watched live. My parents started with season 2, and then I picked it up when I was in middle school. So this was the first season I watched live. So it kind of holds a special place in my heart in that sense. But I feel like in general, Gabon has like a little bit of everything. To be honest, like you have 2 pre-merge tribe swaps, which is insane. And you got idol plays, you have fake idols. There's just it has pretty much it has something for everybody. And I feel like Gabon also has a lot of diverse characters as well. You've got people that like you love to hate, and then you have characters that are just overall likable.
You have ones that are just there.
Yeah, they're just there, like Jackie and Kelly.
Yeah, I was gonna be like the 2 blondes.
Jackie, it seemed like she was actually in a pretty decent spot, and I mean, once again, I don't believe in stop screwed, but she did kind of get screwed with that whole thing.
Yeah.
But like, I wasn't really pining for Jackie to go far in the game anyway, so it doesn't matter. McKenna?
I dislike Gabon very much. So, I I just hate how it just feels so negative. The area of Africa that they're in, it just makes it feel dirty rather than Eden. Like when they pan over the landscape, it's beautiful, but when it's at camp, it's like this gritty, like dirty camp, and then they're being mean to each other. So it just has this like haze for me of just like not great.
Well, and so I will disagree on that aspect only because this is, in real time. I'm finally on the HD seasons, so like when the first episode first starts, I'm just like, wow, this looks amazing. And it doesn't matter that the camp is like you said, it is.
Yeah.
But it's just like, okay, this feels like a nice change of pace because I haven't really gotten a chance to watch much TV outside of this for the last 2.5 weeks. So like going back to watching things in HD has been so refreshing. And I would say that's one of the few positives that I have for this season is the HD. And this is the best variation of the theme song that we ever get, in my opinion. I think the only thing that I could put close to it is maybe like Africa, which is ironic. I loved. I didn't skip the intro. This is the first time I haven't skipped the intro since like Cook Islands, I believe. But outside of that, and I do. This is not me shitting on the season because I do think there is merit to the season. I think that a lot of players in the season that are looked at as jokes actually do a lot. And we're going to start with Sugar. So Sugar, we have the Sugar Shack, and we know about her catching no votes at the end and all that. But like, if you watch the season, anytime Sugar is involved with a vote, she's basically determining what happens every single time, including like whether she's being emotional or not. And there's a lot of times she's being emotional with it. She is still the determining factor for when Ace goes. If you want to skip all the way to the end, when Maddie goes, what are our thoughts on Sugar?
Austin, do you have thoughts on Sugar?
In Gabon, I enjoy Sugar for the most part. I feel like she, in general, played a very good game. It's just, however, she obviously didn't get votes at the end for the sake of like people feeling like she backstabbed them, I guess. Like maybe she didn't like do a good job with pitching her game at the end. She didn't really fight for it to begin with, and B, I don't think she like managed the jury that well either.
I've got thoughts about that. I gotta go ahead though because I want to touch on Sugar's final tribal.
I think she is a player who was like came into the game because she was like a model. She was looked at as a lesser player than someone who is wearing a suit in the game, right? So I feel like she's already starting on a bottom foot now, being exiled so many times, getting like shit on by people, and like just jury management might not have been great. Pitching herself might not have been great. I think she just kept digging deeper into the hole that everybody threw her in the beginning.
And so I agree. So all of you two and then this comment right here, all basically said the same thing. And I do agree with most of what y'all are saying. The one thing that I will say is I do feel like, even though she didn't manage them perfectly, based off of people's, right as they're walking in tribal, everyone has their words like, oh, I expect this. It did seem like a fair few people were giving Sugar the chance. And a lot of people were trying to lead her with some of the questions for her to answer them correctly. Even Randy says, oh yeah, Sugar played a good game. I just want her to say this, that, and the other, and I'll probably vote for her. And then when Sugar she does not care. She doesn't give Randy anything. And you see him move over to Bob, and then Bob kind of drops the ball and he's like, please don't make me vote for Susie. It's like, yeah, Randy. I think Charlie was another one that I think at least had thoughts about voting for Sugar. Crystal was looking for a reason to vote for Sugar, and Sugar goes, oh, you were mean to everyone, that's why I voted you out. I'm like, oh my God. Like, she had I think that there is a path to her winning that game at that moment because she was the one stirring a lot of the votes, and she did have a potential of winning the game. One, because no one ever voted for her, and she was really never on anyone's radar. but she just really dropped the ball. And that's the main thing about this final 6 as a whole is they all just dropped the ball at the worst time. And it's like a comedy of errors. Once again, like I talked about yesterday with Amanda, today it's just like all of them, I feel like, had a path and they just shit the bed in the worst way. Do you feel like, so we do get Sugar back in a couple seasons.
Oh God.
It's only for an episode. What were her heroic tendencies in this season that you feel they saw it and were like, we need her back as a hero?
I think it comes back to almost the Candace effect too, with she was on exile so many times and survived it and used the idol. Like it didn't just like sit in her bag. She used it and Maddie got votes negated. So I think there's like things where, you know, Bob is creating this fake necklace because he can't find the idol, and all of a sudden like Sugar is the one who is finding the idol. I feel like it definitely has to do with her exile stays.
I feel like there's something to be said about like even her connection with Bob though too, of like, because you see when she is deciding whether or not to like let Bob go to fire, like she has this connection with him because she recently lost her dad and he's like the father figure to her out there. So I think like in a lot of ways, Sugar is a very relatable character in a lot of senses, and people like gravitate towards that. So I can see why that would be a reasoning behind, you know, bringing her back in that hero role.
Yeah. And I also feel like, and I went through the math today, and I don't know how it took me until this time watching to realize, oh, they were just trying to get as many people from 9 to 19 and just forgot 9 for some reason, as far as that cast for Heroes vs. Villains, but we're going to talk about that on Friday. Overall, I liked Sugar more this time than I've ever liked her watching this season in the past. I feel like, yes, the crying does become a lot towards the end. But outside of that, even some of the conversations she's having with people, like when they decide they're going to go after Ken, when Kenny has this idea that he wants to give, or he wants Bob to give him the necklace, Sugar goes to Bob and says, "Hey, this is what's going on." And then she goes back and tells Maddie, "Hey, just let me do the talking and we will be fine." And it's like, yeah, I felt like I had just forgotten that actually happened, but she's sitting there saying, like, taking control of a situation. And yes, it's all based off of emotion, but like that's fine as long as you get to that end point and can defend it. And that's where the problem comes in, is because she didn't even expect to catch votes. She says, even when they're walking to trial, she says, "I think I might get one." It's like, that's insane based off of what you just did.
I think the reason why Sugar gets no votes the entire season, people might be looking at her as a GOAT, but they also needed her in like every vote, like you were saying before. Like she's not catching votes because both sides are trying to get her for their side of the vote.
Yeah, she's easily like one of the biggest like poster children for the swing vote.
Yeah, she's the swing vote the entire time, and except for no, she wasn't even at that tribal. Susie was the. I guess we can move on to Susie, because Susie is pretty much in the same spot, at least pre-merge. And I think the reason that she didn't get those 4 votes, those first 4 people on the jury, is because they were upset that she flipped on them when the merge, or like right before the merge hit.
Right.
And I think that's upsetting, because Charlie did seem like a game player that respected game. Randy seemed like a game player that respected game. Despite, you know, him being a curmudgeon, he was going to vote for Sugar, or he was potentially going to vote for Sugar. So why do you think that the 4 of them were so upset with Susie when they told her to her face she is number 6? What else was she supposed to do in the situation? Just kind of, okay, we'll go. It's Nalia-esque.
I was just gonna say the John Carroll effect.
Yeah, it's Nalia-esque, where they just could not handle the fact that they flipped the game like that. And I felt bad for Susie, because I do feel like Susie, of the 3, performed the best at that final tribal. And for me, watching the final tribal, I vote for Susie over the other 2 because, and we'll get to Bob in a little bit. Susie, she was being very confident with her answers. She was giving the only answer she didn't give was when Corinne said, we'll take your vocal cords out or whatever. And it's like, yeah, I would say no to, like, fuck you. Why do you think? Do you think that it's that at just at face value, it's just the four of them were so upset that she flipped, or do you feel like they actually thought that Bob played better than her and had a better performance at Final Tribal?
I don't know, man. I feel like it is a tad of like bitterness, but I think they also might have just liked Bob more, like even personally. They might have been like, well, I was burned by Susie and I like Bob, and hell with Sugar. So that's where they went. Like, I mean, Randy was like, I don't want to vote for any of you, but I'm forced to. This is my least desirable option of a final three, and it is you guys.
Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, I'll echo that. I literally think it's a combination of bitterness and who they liked more.
Yeah. And and I won't say it's annoying because, I mean, as I go through this, that is very much how a lot of juries, especially in the recruitment era, vote anyway. So I shouldn't be too surprised. And it's funny because, and before I get to Bob, I want to talk about the person that I felt like was playing the best game this season, which was Kenny. I feel like Kenny was, I won't call him underrated because I do feel like people give him his flowers, but I do feel like Kenny got too big for his britches at the final seven, final six, because I do feel like he had set himself up very well to get to the end. And then he got, he had this, I won't say the delusions, but he almost, it's almost the Christie effect from Amazon, where he realizes that he's in control and he vocalizes it to his family visit. And then all of a sudden he loses all control because he tries to get, like I said, too big for his britches. Hey, Bob, you screwed me. So now you have to give me the idol or whatever. It's like I don't. It's so embarrassing how the wheels fall off of every single person in this game. Susie not shutting up when after she wins Final Four, which allows Bob, because he's so pissed off that he gets Sugar to vote for Maddie instead. What are our thoughts on Kenny before we go any further? What are our thoughts on Kenny?
Austin,
I love Kenny. Okay. Kenny was one of my favorites watching the season for the first time. And because I feel like it was someone I could relate to because I grew up playing video games and stuff like that. So when I'm in middle school watching Survivor for the first time and I see someone like that who plays video games and I'm like, oh, I can relate to that. And I just thought he played a very good game for sure.
Yeah.
I hate Kenny.
Oh, wow. Okay. Speak away.
I am not a Kenny fan. I was actively rooting against both him and Crystal. I disliked both of them. I wanted them off my screen and was very happy when they got voted out.
So what is it about Kenny?
I don't know. It's just he is too big for his britches. I feel like he felt like he was top dog, and then everything came crumbling down. The first interaction we see is ooh, I don't want to vote out the hot girl. And it's like, dude, you're not getting with her anyway.
How do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah, come on. Honestly,
afterwards,
who's to say? But I will say that I don't think that was I won't say that because he does end up voting for her to go. I think that if you want to look at why the season in a nutshell is just so embarrassing, is the fact that the wrong person went home first round because the wrong person went home the first round when it should have been Jillian, and it's not. And I do feel like after that, Kenny kind of read the room and realized, oh, these people suck. I feel like Kenny could sit there and be like the mastermind because he reads the room and sees, oh yeah, these people are not any good at anything that's going on here. They have no idea how this game works. And I think that if he had just stayed the course. He had Coda people saying that they wanted to vote for him at the end. You know, when Corinne goes out, Corinne or Randy, one of the two, says like, I really like Kenny, this, that, and the other. It looked like Charlie and what's the doctor's name? Mark? What is his name?
Marcus.
Marcus. It seemed like they were a little happy that when he got voted out, but that could just be whatever. I do feel like Kenny probably wins against anyone in the final 6. I think his hardest road would probably be against Bob, but not really, because Bob, of the way that Bob performed at Final Tribal anyway, I feel like Kenny wins of that final 6. And it's just, once again, I know I keep using this phrase, but I have it stuck in my head. He got big for his britches, and he instead of staying the course, he just collapsed. And so, but it's so funny that you say that you don't like Kenny, because of that duo, I didn't like Crystal.
I mean,
I've never liked Crystal until today, and I still don't like love Crystal or anything, but like today, I finally understood why she does have such a large fan base. And it's because she's another one where it's like, it's the season of the cartoon characters. I've never watched Total Drama Island. I'm just assuming this is what that show is like. I don't know. But it's just, these people are just, I was embarrassed watching the first episode of this season because it was so bad. But I think that's where if people came to me and said they ironically liked Gabon, I'd get it, because I ironically like it after today. It was hard to get through, but it was fine. It was funny. If you just put 20 people that don't know what they're doing out, or 18, and out on not even on an island in the middle of Africa, and to say, hey, play Survivor, that's what you got. That's very much what you got.
There's a certain level of it being such a cluster cuss that it's entertaining.
Yes.
I know. All right. I've gotten some hate.
Yeah. If memory serves, Kenny was great.
I just personally don't like Kenny. I'm not arguing that he's bad or that he's good. It's just I'm not a fan of Kenny's.
No, I get it. I get why. I mean, I don't. Who's a really good player that I'm not a fan of? I mean, the easy answer would be like, I don't know. I can't think of anyone now, because I wasn't going to say a certain person's name because I don't think he's a good player. Everyone knows who I'm talking about. I'm talking about him in 2 days, and then the next day after that. The rest of this final, Maddie. I know we touched on him earlier. As far as, I felt horrible for him pre-merge, because he was just always from the Jabroni tribe. Every single time, he just ended up being with these people that don't know what they're doing, and that they suck at challenges. The one where they have to they're like tossing the ball, and it's basically playing keep away, and he's yelling at Sugar because she's just sitting there laughing at everything. It's like, I can't deal with Maddie having to go through this. And then Maddie kind of shoots himself in the foot by aligning with Ace, which I don't. Ace is just another in a long line of cartoon characters, and I do feel like Sugar did screw him because he wasn't trying to come after her, but I was also happy he was gone. But I do also feel like Maddie made the wrong decision siding with him, and that is what ultimately costs him. Not ultimately costs him, but almost does when Crystal and them try to take him out later in the game. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows I don't believe in the phrase robbed. You either win or you lose. Do we feel like Maddie is the robbed god of this season, or do you just think there is no robbed god because everyone sucks?
He lost fire.
He lost fire, yes. I agree.
Like, was he probably the more favored person to win? Yes, but he lost fire. Like, yeah. You could say the same for 44. Carson was like one of the favorite. I know. All right. Carson was the favorite to win at that fire making, but he lost.
Yeah.
So it's just.
I don't. You won't hear it from me, but I just wanted. I'm just putting it out there because I know that some people believe in this whole robbed thing. Mm. Is Maddie this robbed god, or did he just lose? Austin.
I think he just loses.
He's just losing. Okay. Yeah, I don't like Ozzy. For everyone that was here yesterday, I don't like Ozzy, specifically in Micronesia. As a player, I'm sure he's great in real life. As we go through the rest of this final, Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob. So this time I tried to pay more attention to the games of the final three plus Maddie. And I do think that Dr. Bob, I know that he has this rep as being, the worst winner that's not Chris Underwood. And I'm just like, okay, fine. But Dr. Bob does do a lot this season that I feel like the label of one of the worst winners is a bad label, because I do feel like he does do things this season that ultimately puts him in a great spot to go to the end, even after being on the wrong side of the boat a couple of times. That bond with Sugar and admitting that he rode Sugar's coattails at Final Tribal. I think the fact that he never had to turn on any of his people, and when the Randy thing happened, the fact that he sat there, when Corinne asked him the question, and him saying, hey, I didn't like the fact that they laughed at Randy during that situation. I do think that there is merit to it. But once again, and ultimately it doesn't cost him, Bob sits at the end and has one of the worst Final Tribal performances of all time. Just the way he answers questions. I'm actively rooting for Susie here today, knowing full well she loses because of how horribly Bob is doing with these questions. Austin, as a person that has this nostalgia factor of the season and does enjoy it, even though it's not one of your favorites, or not your, what do you think about Bob as the winner? What do you think of Bob as a winner, I should say?
I remember watching it and actually being like happy that Bob won. Mm-hmm. And then on a rewatch, like as I got older, I see some of the stuff that I didn't see the first time around, like more of Susie's game and all of that kind of stuff. Obviously, like if you win, you win. You won that season. You got the votes from those specific jury members. So there's always merit to whoever won. Like you deserved to win that game. Like as a winner overall, like he's probably towards the bottom of my list.
Yeah.
But like to say he's a bad winner is like, I feel like is a little harsh.
McKenna?
Yeah, I mean, out of that final three, I was rooting for Bob. Big fan of his bow ties. And but I mean, he literally said, like, I basically didn't do anything strategically. But his social game was there where he was like nice and he was handy around camp. He like had other aspects to him that, could warrant a win, and it did.
Yeah, this is one of the last seasons where what someone does around camp actually matters. And I think that one of those reasons is the location. And I know one of the comments earlier was a lot of the challenges were very unique. A lot of everything this season is very unique. And it's similar to China, where it's like, I don't need another season in Gabon because we have this. Like we don't need to become oversaturated like Fiji seasons.
Right.
I'm all right with a China season and a Gabon season, because it's whenever you start thinking about, Gabon, that's the one with that challenge. That China is the one with that location. I do like a lot of those aspects, and I do think that Bob, being the handy person that he was at camp, definitely added to his social game. But his social game was not that bad either, because the Randy thing he probably didn't have to do, but the Corinne thing, he was actually trying to help her out on her way out, because he knew there was almost no way that was not going to happen. And the fact that he was still like, hey, I'm going to sell you this, and then you just sell it to everybody else, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I think the only person that was like upset with him was probably Kenny, which is ironic because Kenny, out of everybody else, seemed like the most like this is a game type mentality. Because even when his final words, he was like, yeah, I know how to lose. I'm a gamer. I get it. But his final jury question to Bob is, why did you lie about the necklace thing? And Bob's like, that's one of the only like legitimate answers that I actually believed is, oh, you were going to vote me out if I gave up the necklace. Like, why would I not do that? That's crazy. And I do feel like that kind of may have swayed Kenny to vote for Susie. I think Kenny probably always would have voted for Susie, even though the edit definitely didn't show it like that. I forgot where I was going with that. We'll move on because everyone, I'm just going to put it out there. Everyone, I hit the wall today. Finally, I hit the wall today. I am exhausted beyond reason, but I'm going to push forward because I know that I have Heroes vs. Villains on Friday, and then I have a long week next week, specifically Saturday through like next Thursday with the seasons I have to do then. So I'm going to try to push through and then just suck for about a week. Question. That works. How big of a... how big of a... Okay. Was Corinne with a comment about Sugar's Dad? Okay. So
she's trying to do Snakes and Rats.
Yeah.
She's trying to be the next Snakes and Rats with her final.
And it kind of did turn into that because everyone knows that comment. Like it's not as big as Snakes and Rats, but I feel like when you think iconic final tribal speeches, Corinne's is in there. Let's talk about Corinne. I don't like Corinne. I don't. And Corinne is the character because it is very Mean Girl-ish. And I know that's her first confessional. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to own all of it. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that. And that's cool. It's very antagonistic to the point of no wonder people are keeping you out of reward challenges and everything because you're pissing people off. The social aspect of the game, like her and Randy, yeah, they had their people, their Onion Alliance. Outside of that, they just kind of didn't care about anyone else. And that's the type of, player that, if they lose in the end, they're like, oh, well, it's just because they were bitter. It's like, hell yeah, they were bitter. You treated them like shit. Like how else do you actually think people are supposed to react in that situation if you're not being somewhat nice to them, even if you're being fake about it? What are our thoughts on Corinne?
Didn't like her on the first watch and still don't.
Okay, keep on going.
I can't. Someone that is just like that mean for the sake of being mean is just like not my person.
Yeah, I'm with you, McKenna.
I was rooting for the Corinne, Randy, Charlie Marcus side of things. After rewatching her and Caramoan, though, so down on her. Like, not.
She likes her gays.
I know, but gay men specifically, which is not me. She like gets her hot guys and her gay guys, and then she's good. Which she had Charlie and Marcus.
She did. She was set up fine.
Yeah, so I was rooting for the Onion Alliance. I love Randy. I think he's hilarious. So like I was definitely wanting that side to move forward, and just the whole like interaction between Corinne and Susie when Susie's like, "Yeah, I was thinking about voting for you."
Bad move. Bad move, Susie. I liked Randy. Like every time I watch the season past the first one, I won't say I like Randy. I understand Randy. Mm-hmm. I understand Randy because once again, you are out. Well, Corinne calls them mutants. I'm going to be nice and just call them cartoon characters still. But Randy's out there with a bunch of cartoon characters, and he's like his OG tribe is just the worst. So I do feel like when he does flip to the Dakota Alliance, it probably works better for him as a person. Now, obviously, it doesn't work out for him in the end. One of the aspects of the season that I do like is the fact that that alliance, this tribe that had been winning everything, and this alliance that had come out on top and not only lost Jackie, that they lose. Like they just get picked off one by one once the last vote of the pre-merge, the rest of the merge goes on. They lose. it's at the sake of getting, the Fong alliance instead. But like, I think that works. I don't need hot guy Marcus and his lover Charlie and mean girl Corinne and Randy the curmudgeon and Bob. I would rather have these cartoon characters that don't know how to play the game plus Kenny.
Well, I mean, that's what they were trying to do with this fake merge summit situation. It was to make the Coda Alliance not happen, basically. It was supposed to be a merge, and then they delayed it for like 3 hours, and then we're like, psych, it's a tribe swap.
For one round. For a round and a half. But they still have the reward challenge afterwards.
Right.
Austin.
Do you want to comment on the weird tribe swap with Marcus and Coda?
Oh yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, the fact that we have 2 pre-merged tribe swaps in a season is definitely like something that like
where they don't split into 3
over everybody else.
Where they don't split into 3, yes. Where they don't split into 3.
Yeah.
Exactly. So because the Coda Alliance, I was always rooting for their downfall. I honestly didn't think it would be Marcus that left first. But when it does, we get the most memorable meme from this season where they show up and everyone has their different reactions, which I think is once again one of the biggest positives about the season is that we got that GIF from this season. But outside of that, the Coda Alliance, they have 2 characters that I really care about, whether I like them or don't like them, and that's Randy and Corinne. And then we've got Bob, who once again, just like Bob's is always just Bob. And then Charlie and Marcus, I forgot Marcus's name when we were sitting here. So like that just shows how relevant Marcus was in my head. The only thing I remember about Marcus is he's friends with Crystal's cousin.
Yep.
And that's it. And I think that probably comes down to the way the edit was, because they kept winning. We didn't have to spend enough time with them to really learn who they were, and Jackie and Kelly also started on that tribe. So by the time they get swapped, like, who are these people? We do have Ace, who we haven't talked about yet much. Ace is a fun pre-merge character, but like I said, I feel like he didn't outstay his welcome. Also, I was trying to count how many times his accent changed, and I counted 8. There was at least 8 times that it would and it was usually after something crazy had happened, or if his mood changed. And I think that adds to the theory. I don't even know if it's a theory at this point that he was faking the accent. What did we think about Ace?
Gosh, I was never an Ace fan, but was like, Sugar, why the heck did you vote out Ace? Like, I wasn't like happy when he left because Sugar did a bad. Basically. Because Kenny convinced her to do it because he was a great player. Listen, I'm not saying that he's not a great player or that he is a great player. I'm just saying he's not my cup of tea.
Austin.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that. I'm just very mid on Ace. Not a whole lot of thoughts there.
He's got a cool arm tattoo. That's like one of the only things. It looks like a bullseye almost. Question: what was your thought on rewatching the auction, the cookie incident in particular? Mm-hmm. One, I totally forgot about the whole bathtub thing, where Sugar's judging Susie for how short of a time she takes a bath. So I would stay there the entire time. The cookie thing still confuses me. Because what it looks like happens is Randy makes a joke about, do I have to give it to everyone? And Probst is like, yeah, you fucking give it to everybody. And so he offers everyone a cookie, and Sugar's like, she doesn't want one. And then Probst makes a comment, everything, and then all of a sudden, are you sure you don't want this last cookie? Sugar takes it, she gives it to Maddie, and that's kind of the end of it. And then Randy takes another half from Corinne. And Sugar's being really weird about the fact that Randy is upset at how this went down. But like from what we are shown, it seems like Randy wasn't trying to antagonize her in that situation, which is unlike him. My thoughts are there was very clearly something that production didn't show, because there's no way that had happened exactly like that, because it doesn't even make sense why Randy, why Sugar wouldn't do that, and why Randy would be so pissed off the entire day when he did end up getting half of a cookie from Corinne anyway. Does anyone have a different answer?
I think we are missing something, because the fact that like Maddie didn't say, "Oh, Randy, you can have this cookie that Sugar just gave to me back," because that was his cookie. Like,
It was his cookie.
because Maddie had his own cookie, a half of a cookie, and now Sugar / Randy's cookie. And it's like, do we think Maddie did not offer to give one whole cookie back to Randy? But
He had to have. I don't get
we don't
it.
see that. But we still get Randy pissed off that Sugar gave away his cookie.
This is just, once again, just fully encapsulates this season. The fact that is a big moment in the game is Cookie Gate. The fact that Randy won cookies and may or may not have offered one to Sugar. Once again, if people looked at Gabon as a cartoon or like a spoof, if this is considered a Survivor spoof, I think it'd be it's perfect television. If people like this season because it's such a car crash, I even probably give you credit to that. But for the people that think that this is just like an actual good season, it's like, you are crazy. Unless you have nostalgia for it too. So I'll give Austin a pass because he has nostalgia for it. Anyone else, I don't get how this season has so many fans online, and that some people
we need
insane.
John to comment. So when John Millsap, you listen to this eventually, because he loves Gabon and said top 3 season to me in a text message. You need to comment on this video so we all know your reasoning.
Because I don't get it, and as we start to wind down with this, I think one, it comes after Micronesia, so like that it was always going to be fighting an uphill battle. I do feel like, actually I don't feel like this, because I was ready to say, I feel like there are some compelling characters, but like outside of Sugar and maybe Randy, not really like compelling characters that was like, I'm fully invested in this person's storyline. And Sugar is a bit of a stretch, but because we spent so much time with her this season, we're kind of obligated to follow her entire storyline. I think that, once again, from Final 6 to Final 3, someone just drops the ball at every single turn, and it ends up with us getting a horrible Final 3, but a Final 3 where Sugar should have run away with it and didn't, because she shit the bed. Susie could have won it, but she couldn't get certain people. And Bob probably shouldn't have gotten any votes because he was just so blah about everything. Question: is there anyone who could have won that would have made the season better, or Gabon was always going to be considered fun cartoon season no matter what? Even if Kenny wins, I feel like a cartoon, because Kenny's such a what's the word? I mean, I won't say that he doesn't give off winner vibes, because that's BS.
He's an animated character himself too. Like, even though he's good, he still is like a character too.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'll go with that. So like, I don't feel like there's anyone that could have made this season good in my book. Even seasons with good winners, they can still be bad if that
that I don't think Bob winning is the reason the season is considered cartoony. Like, it's literally the entire cast as a whole and all of the absolute mess that the entire season is.
Yeah. I mean, we have one of the worst tribes ever in 2 iterations. The 3rd iteration actually wins, which is insane. Marcus. No, yeah, they don't have Marcus and they still win. Yeah. But so at this point, we have 3 historically worst tribes, because we haven't gotten to Mat Singh yet. We've got Oolong and we've got Ravu. Oolong at least won a fair few reward challenges. Ravu lost all but one challenge, just period. And Fong, I think, won 2 or 3 challenges as a whole.
Ravu has an asterisk next to their win, too.
No, not that one. Their Ravu 2.0 won a challenge.
Oh, okay.
They won one reward challenge.
That's the hot dogs. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But so where I was going with this is I still think Fong's, just from a TV point of view, they are the most interesting of the 3, because with Ravu, it was like, I hate Rocky so much that, like, no matter what he does, I hate this tribe because Rocky's there. With Oolong, it was like, okay, outside of Stephanie and Bobby John, like, I don't know these people. I know Ibrahim's name because he's black, and like I know James because I hate him. I don't know any of these people. I just watched Palau 7 days ago now, and I couldn't tell you anybody else in that tribe's name, honestly. But with Fong here, even though they all suck, the only person's name who I've forgotten is her name was Michelle, the first
Chase.
boot.
Yeah, Michelle Chase.
Michelle. Okay, so I can name everyone from OG Fong because they were just I won't say larger than life, but they were characters. They had their own unique quality about everyone. There was no generic people on this tribe. Right. And that can't be said for Coda, because even though Jack and were there, I remember their names. I feel like they were very generic. I feel like Marcus was kind of generic as well, but he was on the jury, so we had enough time with him. We've had 2 people from the season come back. We've had Sugar and we've had Randy. Right? Just Sugar and Randy? Yeah. Corinne. There's no way anyone. Yeah.
Oh, and Corinne.
Oh, Corinne. Yeah, Corinne. Duh. I forgot about Corinne. Were they the right 3 people?
I mean, we've talked about Kenny and Crystal, and people think they should have been brought back. I think Randy 100% needed to come back because he's just king. But did I need to see Corinne or Sugar? Not really. Austin?
I would agree. Randy definitely needed to come back, and I think they brought, like, Heroes versus Villains was the perfect one to bring him back for. I obviously would have liked to see Kenny back by now, and honestly probably still would. And then I feel like Maddie could have come back also.
Really? I mean, I'm not gonna judge.
I'm not gonna like hardcore pitch it, but like I wouldn't have been upset if they brought him back.
If Maddie had come back. Yeah, put him on the ballot for second chances.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, something like that. I would say that, the 3 people that they have had come back, I understood 2 of them. I understood Sugar and I understood Randy. I also understood that, they needed Gabon representation, so they had to get. I'm surprised they had 2 people from on the same season, because that same season being Gabon. Corinne on that favorites tribe in Caramoan, I would say is probably like number 4 or 5 as far as fave rank. As far as like what people probably were pining for. I don't think there were many people pining for Corinne after she wasn't on Heroes versus Villains. I don't think anyone really was like, oh, I need another Corinne season. And thankfully she is the merge boot that's not on the jury in that season. I do think that, neither Randy or Sugar outstayed their welcome in Heroes versus Villains. And I think because that cast the characters are so big, I feel like they were, small fish in a large pond in that season to begin with. And then for season 50, is there anyone from this season that you are dying to see play on season 50? I figured you would say that.
Die on the hill for any of them.
So GC, okay.
I mean, all right, we haven't talked about GC, and this is like my only, this is my favorite part of Gabon is GC becoming the leader and then being like, no, I don't want to be the leader, and then gets lost before the challenge and they have to try and find him to come back. Like, that series of events is some of my favorite Survivor.
it's such a, because in my head I try to watch it as if I'm a player that's actually out there and I'm surrounded by production and we are actively all looking for this man, which means he is totally off the grid to the point where their production saying, no, we've got to go to the challenge. Sorry. Like, he's just out here. It's like, okay, what if he's dead though? Like, we don't know what happened to GC. And then all of a sudden he's back and they go and they lose the challenge and he basically asked to be voted out. Yeah, GC, very underrated pre-merge character. No, not really. He's
I
just,
follow him on Instagram and he's just out here.
does he, what is,
I
G-Sizzle.
don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, G-Sizzle.
He still goes by Jesus. Okay. All right.
It's Danny Goldenchild Brown
That's
on
embarrassing.
his Instagram bio.
How many followers does he have?
435.
Do I have more followers than GC? there's no way, right?
He's a legend, and I would. You know what? GC back for 50.
Stop.
Honestly, okay, I do have more followers than GC. So, you know, if I were to pick one person from this season that I would be like, wow, they actually brought them back for 50, it'd be Ken. It'd be Kenny. Like, I think that I don't think that anyone from this season is coming back for 50, and not even because of the whole pre-33 thing. I just don't see anyone pining for anyone from this season in particular. But I do think that Kenny could gain some traction from fans.
Yeah,
to send him back out there. It's very much like, I know
if
we
they
talked
put it
about
to a vote and he's on the ballot, I think he makes
he
it.
gets, yeah, absolutely. I think we've talked, me and McKenna have talked about Nate and Sean Rector, and then yesterday I talked about Natalie Bolton. Mm-hmm. I think those types of characters, ones that like were very big on their season and people have been pining for them for years, if they leave this in the audience's hand and those people, you know, those types of people are out there, I think that, and especially if they put them next to people that have returned even once, I feel like the fans will be like, no, let's vote this person this time. Because at this point, there are so many Survivor super fans, I guess, that they outnumber the casuals. Let's hope this time. And we don't get Monica Padilla again, or Emmy Kappenberg again. Or Vetus, or Jeff Barner for a second time. That was the second time. It's non-problematic time. In all,
with Jeff Barner's
well, it was funny in Australia just because I didn't like Kimmy. Overall, Gabon gets like a 3.5 out of 5. Like, it's harmless, but it's just, and it's funny. But everything is just, it's bad. It's bad. It's not Nicaragua. When I talk about Nicaragua on Sunday, I believe, that's when I'll really start like being upset about everything. Because Gabon is not that. Gabon is
so bad it's good.
Yes. It's the room. It's the room of Survivor seasons.
I can stand watching Gabon again. Nicaragua is my bottom season. Like, I cannot, like, I hate watching it.
But Chase Rice.
No, it doesn't do anything.
One fan of the season. What's her name?
Jane?
No, it was not. Okay, it wasn't even Holly. It was Jane. Thank you both so much for coming on today to talk about the season. Once again, I apologize to everyone that I was very low energy today. I'm hoping that by the end of Token Jeans, I know that for Samoa, spoilers, I'm going to be blasted for Samoa because I always drink with Eric Cardona because I have to carry, on his legacy of being a very drunk juror. I'm not going to be like totally inebriated where I can't talk, but like I'm going to be very much more high energy for Samoa. So, thank you all, and we'll be back tomorrow night with Survivor Token Sheens, which has already, I paused it, but it's already starting, and we will see you all on the other side.
Freeze, Ace, freeze!